Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hello to everybody in the chat. Hey, you members, I see you there. Thank you so much to the mods who are going to be helping out today. I'm Natalie, and this is Scientology Life After a Cult, where we talk about the Scientology news that has the internet buzzing, talk about my 35 years in this cult, leaving with 3 generations of my family. And I do other content and collaborations throughout the week. So please hit that subscribe button and set your notification bell to all. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to jump into. We are going to talk about some Scientology protests around the country. We're going to touch on a John Travolta sighting and chat about my interview yesterday with Relatable Reese and a whole bunch more stuff. So let's get going with all of that. If you have questions, please put question in all caps in front of your question to help us find it quicker so we can get to as many of those as we can. All right, everybody. First off, I want to share with you this actually. In fact, she might still be live. MARILYN HONIG at Coffee, Cult, and Crafts is doing a beautiful birthday remembrance for Doug Kramer. Now, Doug Kramer was somebody who was here on YouTube who spoke out against the abuses of Scientology. I unfortunately never had the opportunity to meet with him or collaborate when I came onto YouTube. Sadly, he had already passed. But MARILYN, and I bet you other channels as well, are going to be acknowledging Doug today for his birthday. So I just wanted to highlight MARILYN's channel here because I know she's doing that. Let's take a look.
Happy birthday, Doug, wherever you are. And, we're all here to just remember our friend. And, thank you everyone for being here. I really don't feel worthy. I don't feel ready. I don't feel qualified, to do this, but here we are.
So she goes on, does a wonderful birthday remembrance. Go ahead and check it out. I've got links down below to all of the videos we're going to be talking about because remember, we're just going to look at a clip. We're just going to dip a toe a little bit, but there's a lot of great content there. Speaking of great content, have you guys been following JENNA MISCAVIGE? She's been answering questions daily from viewers in a very fun way in different locations. I love that she's doing this. She got a question. This is actually an excellent question. Let's take a look at this.
Since you grew up in a cult and since you grew up in a cult and didn't spend much time with your parents, do you find it difficult parenting your own children at times since you never had the example of a mom and dad parenting in day-to-day life? I hope this makes sense. That's a really good question. There's a couple ways of answering this. So I do find it difficult, but there's actually some things that I don't find difficult because when you come from like a past with complex trauma, basically you learn to get really good at anticipating other people's needs because you have to do that in order to survive.
So she goes on, you're going to have to click down below and watch the full video to see her full answer. I think it's so relevant, whether it's parenting or even just talking about coming out of complex trauma and that how that can affect a person and those habits you end up or those personalities you have to take on to survive in that. Great content. I think that many of you will be able to connect with that. So head over, give her a like and subscribe. I've been enjoying watching that a lot. Now, let's talk about this John Travolta sighting. Erica, Feral Cheryl on the loose, wearing Clearwater, doing their thing, out there protesting. There was one more person with them whose name I don't know. I know Erica was there, Feral Cheryl was there, and I know there was one more person. So if somebody in the chat knows, let me know. I was just curious about that and wanted to give that person a shout out. So I'm not sure if Cheryl's here. Anyways, you got to see this. We're going to look at the clip. But John Travolta was spotted outside driving past the Fort Harrison Hotel and responds to Feral Cheryl on the loose. Let's take a look.
No, what was it she said? You're still in a cult, Tammy. That's it.
Oh, actually, hold on. This is the You're Still in a Cult Tammy clip. So back it up a little bit. We may as well look at this one since this is where we are. Do you guys recall? So just put a pin real quick. John Travolta, put a pin in it. Do you remember Rika over in Portland had a clip, had a short that was up? Actually, it might have just been her video, and I think I clipped it because I thought it was hilarious because a staff member named Tammy was heading into the org. Wait, it wasn't Rika. Was it Z News or was it Rika? Regardless, tell me in the chat. I know someone will remember. But she basically says, "You're still in a cult, Tammy." It was just, I don't know. There's something about that was so hilarious. And I love that CHERYL picks up on that in this little clip here. This is outside Scientology in Clearwater.
No, what was it she said? You're still in a cult, Tammy. That's it. I can't get that out of my head. That was so funny. And I said it wrong. Yeah, you're in a cult.
She's talking to the people across the street there, headed into the superpower building of Scientology, where they deliver those secret superpower services that apparently one of them involves running around a pole. I don't know what the rest do, but superpower kind of says it all. Get those superpowers. Okay, it was Lisa from SP Pillow Talk, who was there also with CHERYL in what I believe is the next clip that we are going to take a peek at, where she spots John Travolta and takes off down the street.
I'm running. I haven't run in 25 years. It's John Travolta. It's John Travolta. It is. It's John Travolta. Hi. Hi. Oh my God. He just said hello to me. Did you guys see that? That's John Travolta.
Did you see him wave at her? It's kind of hard to make out. Hold on. You can see like, oh wait, let me go back a little bit more. It was like right there. See the hand? Little wave to the protesters out there live streaming, holding signs, right? It's like, I thought that was fabulous. And it was Rika, thank you, chat, who said, you're still in a cult, Tammy. I don't know why that makes us laugh. I mean, I was glad to hear CHERYL say that cracks her up as well. It does me, and I can't even tell you why. There's something about it that's so funny. It's very, oh my goodness, it's very Napoleon Dynamite-esque, if you will. If anyone who saw that, if you saw that movie, I just thought it was great. But you're right, Pippi Longstocking. That was kind. He waved. Absolutely. I thought that was fantastic. Let's also take a look as night fell. Erica and CHERYL and SP Pillow Talk, I think now that's the name of the other person who was there, were also there. And let's see. Let's take a look.
Yes, we're doing the protesting Purif.
What is the protesting Purif?
You sweat for 5 hours outside a flag.
The amount of sweat that I want.
Yes, you definitely won, sis, because you were here a bit earlier than me. So your purification rundown is way ahead of mine.
Okay, excellent.
And
Both niacin.
you don't have to take the niacin. We don't do that. You can take a gummy. You can take a shot of tequila, or a gummy. Oh, look how fasting.
Then we got the Scientology bus there. What is it? Lori Play says, "Safe journeys, happy space travelers." And off they go. So it was an eventful day, I would say, in protesting Scientology in the belly of the beast, which is Clearwater. Because if you do not know, at Flag, they deliver the highest levels of the bridge to total freedom. They do. Those upper levels, those superpowers. You can go run around a pole there. All of that. Although on the free ones, they deliver the highest level, operating THETAN level 8 on the ship. But let's be real, not many people are doing that. People go to Flag to get themselves sorted out as well. If you're in Scientology and things are just not going great, you can go to Flag and get it sorted out. Pay extra money, because Flag has some of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, Scientology auditing and counseling on the planet. It's next level what they charge there. Oh, that just made me laugh so much. All of that. All right, let's go to Kansas City. Talk about stuff happening. Lots of stuff happening in the protest world yesterday. Kansas City, let's head over to Auditing Scientology, who was out there. This is, okay, so Auditing Scientology finds his human rights tent in Kansas City. I think L. Ron Lyer was there as well. Let's take a look at this.
We're here at the First Friday event, community event in the Crossroads District, where the Kansas City Scientology org is located. And looking over there, we see them assembling a humanrights.com tent. And that's one of the Scientology's front groups.
United for Human Rights is a nonprofit education program proudly sponsored.
You don't say. We're here at the First Friday event.
So they see the tent there, right? And they're there, of course, with their cameras. So you know that Scientology is going to go whining to law enforcement.
Yeah, I don't know, they're still confirmed.
I do believe that they did, but this is a great clip because you can actually see the tent and the complete and utter lack of activity around it. And this, let me come back here. For Scientologists or under the radar Scientologists, right, who want to leave but feel that they can't due to connections, don't want to lose their friends and family, maybe their business, right? For them to see this and other Scientology organizations around the world being completely empty is a huge win, because it verifies what they feel. They're sitting at their organization thinking we're the only ones. You guys know how it is where sometimes you go through something in life, it's super stressful, you're having a hard time, and you might feel isolated, like you're the only one. Nobody understands what you're going through. And then you see mirrored somewhere else with somebody else what's happening, and they're going through the same thing. And they understand it and they see it too. That's healing. That gives strength for people who want to leave Scientology. And it also shows people who might ever consider getting into Scientology that it's a losing proposition, because it's dead and there's just nothing happening there. So let's go ahead and take a look now at this clip where you get to see the human rights tent.
Yeah, I don't know, they're still conferring, but that went off somewhere. I don't know where. So we're speculating that maybe he went to find Dan O'Connor and a fax machine to get rid of us. Yeah. Okay. So there we have. Yeah, I don't know, they're still confirmed.
What's funny about this too, I feel like sometimes let's get over to where we're back at the tent. Hold on. I mean, nobody's there. And it looks like they have things set up they are promoting United for Human Rights, where they use the Declaration of Human Rights, which I think was it created by the UN? Somebody tell me in the chat if you're catching this on the replay. Do not, no slacking. Go ahead and jump in those comments. Auditing Scientology says they're trying to get us kicked out. Didn't work. Exactly. That is fantastic. Oops, we're stuck there. Okay, so let me get rid of that one there. Well, while they were out there, they collect back pieces of promo that Scientology tries to hand out. And you guys know that's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. I have many favorite things now that I think about it, but this is one of my favorite things. When these Scientologists are out there handing out their propaganda and a live streamer or protester comes across and it's like, hey, do you know that that's a cult? Do you know that that's Scientology? Do you need it? No, I'll take that. Most people are looking for a garbage can to go ahead and throw it. So we're going to go take a look at this is Free XENU Project and see some of the materials that he has collected back. This is fabulous.
Also, if you're watching, You might want to take a
Oh, wait. Do we need to hold on? Do we got to wake up Osa? You're right. They probably do want to be watching for this. Let's do it gently because it's the weekend. Osa, wake up, my lovelies. You want to hear this. These are some words from Free XENU Project after collecting a whole bunch of your promo pieces. Pay attention. Okay, let's take a look at this.
slow count. And anything that, you might want to take some of these. Well, I'm sorry, a slow count. You might want to take a slow count and take these off their stats for the day. And Mike's, my mic is not. Is my mic working? Let me know. It looks like it is. So if you could let me know in the chat if my mic is working. Anybody? I know it takes a little bit.
This is fantastic. And Auditing Scientology says, I also stuffed about the same amount of literature in my backpack. That is fantastic. I just love it. It's like one of my favorite things about protesting or taking those things back, because in Scientology, every staff member has a statistic. It's something that measures your production. So if your job is to get out Scientology literature, it's how many pieces did you hand out? And when they're being collected back, are they accounting for that? I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. But the point is, they're seeing there's probably more being collected or thrown away than anybody is keeping. There really is. Windy City THETAN Watch would go around Chicago and even find them on the ground, and he would pick them up because it was littering. I'm glad that he does that. Okay, let's take a look now. Let's go to Austin and look at a video from HITZEL, who was out there. And I just love it when things get shut down really quick sometimes. Let's see what happened when she walked up.
Hey, y'all. Freeloader, that is not enforceable in the real world. You all don't have to be stuck in a cult. That was fast.
Yep, that was really fast. Got those doors shut while making sure not to look in the camera. You got to close the door like sideways. Like, don't look at me. Don't identify me. I'll get in trouble with my overlords here in Scientology. Yeah, they cannot be videotaped. They cannot be photographed. It is strongly discouraged. And I would speculate that punishment occurs, especially if you're a SEERG member caught on tape like that. I don't know for sure, just based on past behavior. It seems like that is something that would happen. Yep. Hey, Farrell Cheryl, I loved your John Travolta chase down. That was absolutely fabulous. Absolutely great. Okay, now let's go hop over to Buffalo. Enri is in Buffalo. He was out there pointing out a few things. So I haven't seen him since he was at the Blue Buildings in Los Angeles, I think. But this is in Buffalo, New York. Check it out.
/ kiosk here. It's the purification program that they're advertising. And then if you take a look. Oh, and look, they're having an event, by the way.
So this is in Buffalo, Saturday, July 13th. That's not today. It's next week. Doors open at 3:30. Event starts at 4. Looks like it's going to be about Dianetics. Are you stressed? Do you find yourself procrastinating? Do you suffer from anxiety or depression? Come and find out what Dianetics is all about.
So I got a couple of people messaging me that they are around from the Buffalo area. It's far as shit for me. So my hope is in the next couple of days that I'm out here, that I hope to meet some local people, because y'all got to also step up and do your thing. / kiosk here.
So interesting that they've got that Dianetics event coming up there. It'd be awesome if people are available to go check it out, if nothing else, just to see how many people actually come. Does anyone show up? And how many of them are actually Scientologists? because that's what they'll do. I remember this from back in the day when I was in Scientology in Twin Cities. If they were having an event that they knew probably no one was going to show up to, which was, let's be honest, most of any event for new people. So they would try and get some of us from the operating THETAN committee, which is basically like PTA for Scientology, to volunteer our time to come and sit at these Dianetics events to basically fill chairs and make it look like there were people there when really there was nobody there. Alex says diuretics presentation. It really could, you know what? It could result in, yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that happening. Oh, and just like, I mean, their promo too, right? Their whole like, do you have anxiety? Are you stressed? Yeah, every single person. It's when you I think about this sometimes. I would love to hear what you guys think in the chat if you're catching on the replay, tell me in the comments. Most people do deal with some level of stress and anxiety because we are here living this life, and in this world, there's almost no escaping it. So of course, but does that mean that anything is terribly wrong? Sometimes, and sometimes not. It's just part of it, right? Some situations are more challenging, so we work through it. It makes us stronger. We learn better ways of doing things, of interacting with each other, whatever it is. In other words, we learn from these challenging experiences, or at least I believe that's what's supposed to happen. And Scientology really has been preying on that. If you feel any stress or any upset at all, that something has to be done about that right away. And as an ex-Scientologist, I've spent a lot of time working through getting rid of that and recognizing that if I'm upset, if I'm stressed, right, if I'm feeling these emotions, that is all right. It doesn't mean that something's terribly wrong. Sometimes it is, sometimes it just isn't. But that's a normal part of life. So having tools to work through that, tools that a lot of people find helpful in therapy, or it could be philosophy, religion, self-help books, whatever that is, or however that looks like. But in Scientology with Dianetics, they don't let you look any further than Dianetics as being the solution. And this is why when their solution for stress and anxiety is Dianetics, which doesn't actually address those things, especially for somebody who might have some mental health issues, it will then aggravate those conditions and add to it and make it so much more worse. So it's really insidious. It completely is. The fact that they present themselves just like the human rights, right? That they have some human rights commission while they're regularly committing human rights and not recognizing it as that. And I can tell you, people in my own family, I'll use my daughter as an example, was having her human rights violated when she was there in Clearwater in Florida, right where Feral Cheryl was protesting. She was there as a student training to be a staff member here in the Twin Cities. And she was deprived of sleep, food. She was forced to clean bathrooms as punishment for not making quotas for things like selling L. Ron Hubbard books and things, which wasn't even a part of what she was there to do. But they will use anybody for that free labor. All right, let's go over to Columbus now. Over in Columbus, Darth Beaver is out there, and we've got a little clip to look at Scientology in Columbus, which I'm not positive I've seen this.
Disgusting place. Until we get the kids out of there, we keep coming. No more of this. See a few people in there.
It is a big building. I wonder, this must be one of their ideal org buildings. There's so much potential, yet nothing really happening. It must be an ideal org building because you can tell by the sign and everything looks so much newer. And again, 1, 2, 3, what do we got? 4 cars there in the parking lot in the middle of the day. Well, where are the staff members? Where are the public people? This is the thing, again, in Scientology, the value in these live streams and showing it is so people see nobody's there. Even the staff, okay? Staff members there, trust me when I tell you this, little inside tea. They are sitting there going, What are we doing wrong? What are we doing? Who's out ethics? Who's the suppressive person? Because nobody's coming in. And the truth is nobody's coming in because they recognize that Dianetics and Scientology is actually a cult. That's why nobody's coming in. You don't recognize it yet. You will one day. It's incredibly eye-opening. And I like these comments here too. PK from AK. Everyone in Scientology lives in fear, full of anxiety, sadness, exhaustion, and all kinds of Scientology-induced mental illness. That is very true. It's super stressful inside Scientology. Anne says, are you stressed? Yes, the whole planet went through a pretty massive, stressful event. Cult of Scientology, where have you been in the last few years? Good grief. That is true. But they know that, and that's why they try and use that button or that ruin, as it's called in Scientology, to hook you in and pull you in. They get the hook in you and then pull you in for that. And your pain, your stress, your anxiety is exploited. And when you take somebody and you exploit their pain, their stress and anxiety, and you try to use it to forward your own agenda, that's massively culty. And that's exactly what Scientology does. All right, let's now go over to Chicago, where let's take a look at a clip from Windy City THETAN Watch. Now, this is a video he put together to really kind of blow the whistle and shed light on one of the officers there that really seems to be in bed with Scientology. I thought this was great that he did this. So let's take a look at a little bit of this video. Link down below where you can see the whole thing.
Today, we shine a spotlight on a troubling pattern of behavior by the Chicago Police Department, specifically focusing on Sergeant Dolan, badge number 1779, and his officers. This narrative unveils 3 egregious instances where Sergeant Dolan and his team prioritized the interests of the cult of Scientology over the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters. Today, we shine a spot.
I love that he's doing that and calling that out, because we've seen that in Chicago. We've seen that in Los Angeles. And the police, though, in other communities, the further you get away from the mothership, if you will, it seems like the less the influence over law enforcement exists. You look at in Salt Lake City, the law enforcement has showed up multiple times, and it's been very cordial and even fun at times, because they recognize, I'm assuming they recognize, that Scientology is a cult. And at the end of the day, if you're out there live streaming, you're a First Amendment auditor and you're exercising your First Amendment right to videotape in public, not really much they can do. And they know that. It's Scientology who doesn't know that, even despite the fact that they're told over and over, but they can't accept that. All right, let's see. Oh, and this is a great question. During the lockdown, can someone under the radar say how they did their auditing sessions? It couldn't be with the e-meter if the sessions were done via Zoom. No, it could not be. I'm not, I don't have a ton of data on how every service was delivered. I know a lot of people were doing home study courses, and at some point they just started bringing people back in. But you had to wear gloves, you had to wear masks, and Scientology continued that way beyond what the rest of the world did. But I'm sure we'll hear more about that. I have heard some things that were pretty darn bizarre. Kelsey, thank you so much for the super chat. I feel like Ella Rage put an emphasis on hating psychology because any mental health care professional would recognize all of their brainwashing tactics immediately. Aloha from Iowa. Aloha back to you. And you are spot on. You are completely right about that. That is exactly what happens. That's exactly it. Psychiatry and psychology laughed at L. Ron Hubbard. They ridiculed him, and he got butthurt about it. Let's be honest. And he didn't want the competition, because if you're creating your own cult, you don't want anyone looking anywhere else. You don't want anyone watching anything else. You want to the cult leader will want to control who people watch, what they say, what they support. That's exactly what Scientology does and tries to do. So they limit people going for counseling or therapy by discrediting it and saying that they're like, you look at the exhibition what do they call it? The psychiatry something exhibition, where they show these horrific images of people getting lobotomies back in the day, which now those, as far as I know, are not done anymore. So everything that Scientology tries to point out about psychiatry, a lot of it were in the early days, and a lot of it was stuff that was just not okay. But we know better. We know more now. Science, medical, we've learned so much more about mental health, and it's a different situation. But they don't acknowledge that. Scientology is still stuck in the 1950s in terms of psychiatry, psychology, and they're holding on for dear life to what L. Ron Hubbard said, to not look, don't look. And when you don't look like that, that's when you become victim of it. That's when you become, you're basically in a cult. You're in a high control group. If somebody's telling you, you can't look over here. And that is what, again, Scientology does, because it's what cults do. Alicia, thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. I appreciate that. Let's see here. I was just laughing at the Sins of Scientology, a ghost town, just like L. Ron Hubbard's offices. That is so true. Oh, it's so true. That's why it's so great to say this. Okay, let's now go ahead and take a look at, this is SPTV Atlanta. So someone who is out in the Atlanta area, and she made a little short talking about how many of those millions of Scientologists do you think they crammed into one car? Because she's out there, Scientology Atlanta, trying to see who's coming in. How busy is it? And this is what she had to share.
Pull over for a bit and attempt to stake out the Atlanta org. Big action, let me tell you. I saw one car drive into the parking lot since I arrived a few minutes ago. Might be a good time to pull over for
one car. One car. One car. And I don't think it was like a clown car where it pulled up and all these Scientologists got out, 20 of them that fit in there. No, I really doubt that. I really doubt that. But again, way to call it out and show these organizations are empty. There are very little people who are actually there. Now let's go to Denver. Let's go take a look at what's happening in Denver. There was some protesting going on. There was some chalking going on. Let's see. This is from a stream. This is from Mexican Longhair, who is out there doing some protesting and chalking. Let's take a little look. Hold on a second.
All the members, thank you for being members, by the way. Appreciate that. But the message today that I'm going to be chalking has to do with elderly abuse, because that's something that's very, very understated. And that's what I'm going to be doing here. We're going to be...
you go, Osa.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, oh, the camera, yeah. So that's my messaging today, is about elderly abuse. You know, I'm going to put stuff like, do you think it's okay to have Scientology? You know, I don't know how I'm going to word it yet, but I'll put it. But yes.
They absolutely rob the elderly of their well, they don't even get Social Security.
Right. Yeah, because they haven't.
And then to take an elderly person that doesn't qualify for social because they've been with the Sea Org for so long, and max out credit cards in their name.
Yeah, they do that.
Yep. You need not look further than Rosemary Brown, the mother of Mike Brown, who was an elderly person in the Sea Organization who was not getting proper care and had over $100,000 put on credit cards in her name. I mean, that's just flat out fraud. So she's absolutely right there. They're absolutely right there about that connection with the elderly. And so many Sea Org members are in that age bracket now, because again, they're just not getting as many new ones. So it is definitely a thing that needs to keep being called out and exposed, because it is one of the very harmful things that happens in Scientology is this elder abuse and neglect of their needs. They're not getting proper medical care. You know, the women in the Sea Org are not being screened. They're not getting regular mammograms. The men in the Sea Org are not getting health screenings. They're not getting regular PSA tests to find out whether or not they have prostate cancer, which occurs in 1 in 6 for men. They're not doing any of that. So they're going to end up sick. They're going to end up with issues that maybe if they got on top of it earlier through screening and the tools we medically now have available. But that is not what happened. That's just not what ends up happening. All right, let's jump over now and let's talk about my interview with Relatable Reese yesterday. I'm going to pull up. Did I make a little clip for that? I may have. I think I did. Let's take a look at this and then let's discuss percentage of them who just don't vibe that way. And that's the beauty of YouTube is people have a choice to keep watching, to tune in, to subscribe, to interact or not, because you don't have to at the end of the day. There's a great comment here. Kraken Studio, thank you for being a member for a month, says, Reese, please know you lived in survival mode your entire life. Give yourself grace for how you handled it all. We love you for rescuing yourself.
Wow, thank you.
Accurate.
And I don't recognize that person's name, so thank you. I appreciate
Kraken Studio, the real booty.
I love it. That's why I'm like, I know my people. I always feel that way as a teacher on my channel. I'm like, I know my class. That person's not in my class. Like, I'm like, I always recognize a new name. I'm like, I'm a new person. Welcome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And what was so great too, is to be able to get some questions answered just as, I'm someone who was a viewer. I was just watching her on YouTube. And we would have some, a little bit of interaction, but not a ton. And I've just been watching everything kind of like what's been happening. And this whole new bombshell with her last two husbands being in this Royal Order of the Jesters, which apparently is a known sex cult, that's what they're involved in. And there's so much, it just blows my mind. That's why I know that we'll be able to do many more videos together, because I think that there's a perspective there when, Reese was mainly a public in Scientology, which is different from being a Sea Org member or a staff member. There's a whole nother set of anxieties and trauma and things that happen with that as a public person in Scientology. And I think we don't have as many conversations about that. And I would like to do that more. I know a lot of it for people that I've spoken to and even that have reached out and shared their stories that just aren't ready to do that publicly. And it tends mostly to be more people who are more newer out of Scientology or leaving as a public person, or people who even have left the Sea Org, but just need that time to go ahead and create their life. And since she's been out of Scientology, she's been here on YouTube. So we're watching it all happen in real time. And I think it's fascinating because it's happening in real time. We're seeing, changes in her own growth and how she's going through things and how her audience as well has gone through that with her. Let's see here. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing. Mary Reno, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Hip hip hooray and huge aloha to you. I appreciate that. Let's see here. And I got so many wonderful emails and comments from you guys too about that. And we're definitely going to be doing that again, because I know I have so much more. I have so many more questions as someone who's just been a viewer and watching this roll out. And especially, like I said, from the perspective of somebody who's newer out of Scientology. I just had like next level fun doing that. And I'm glad that you guys enjoyed as well. Like Kelly says, fabulous interview. You asked the questions I had been wanting answers to. Let's see. V. Burke, you were so respectful, but asked all the right questions. Reese really is at ease with you. And I would hope so too. Christine says, love that interview. Two strong, courageous women standing up to Scientology. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate Reese. That's awesome. Sancho Panza. I can't believe she had to deal with two cults. Exactly. That was like the whole thing. I'm like, what are the odds of this happening? And that's something I'd like to hear more about too. And part of it, I think, is as she moves through this and does more of her own healing, she's going to be able to articulate it and really kind of, I think, revisit a lot of these things with a different set of eyes. Because remember, she's doing this in real time. This is not someone, I've been out of Scientology for 14 years, and I know how things affect me and what I'm still processing and dealing with. People who are newer to having left Scientology, like I said, it is a thing that you need to work through. And sometimes it takes an incredibly long time. I don't know that it's ever done. I don't know that when you have that type of trauma, whether it's Scientology or however you might have grown up or experiences you might have had, it's not something that is just so easily like, oh, I worked through that and that's done. I'm totally over that now. There are so many things that just continue to show, continue to throw you back into it at times, and you got to figure out how to work through it. Let's see. The boobologist, love the interview. Huge truth about connecting the dots with her little Easter eggs that she dropped. She's so strong for starting to unravel all of the stuff with just 1 year out. Yeah, it's just very interesting. Skipper, the geriatric Chihuahua, thank you so much for becoming a new member of the channel. Big aloha to you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Feral Cheryl. It's like Reese didn't see the red flags because of having been in a cult mindset already. Cheryl, that is such a great way of putting it. And I think that that is very true. It's different to be where I sit 14 years out of Scientology versus 1 year out of Scientology and going through it in real time. And then I think too, like asking those questions, I think is helpful for her as well as somebody who has just been watching this play out. Because we don't always, when we're going through things in life, we're not always looking at it through the lens of how somebody else looking at this. We're going through it and we're just focused on trying to get through it. Like she was trying to get to where she had a safe space for herself and for her son and be able to finally create a life that is solely for her. Well, and Tommy, now they're in a relationship. And like I told her, and you guys heard me say, I totally support her choice to make decisions about her own relationships. I feel like that's got to grow on me. I was not 100%, I don't know. I found myself watching and feeling more protective. That's why I said, Tommy, if you hurt her, you mess with her, we're all coming for you. But, we just got to go off. She's happy. She is in a place with that relationship where there's love there, and that's her choice. So, but I was straight up with her about that because I felt like I just needed to be honest about it, and we'll see. Maybe that relationship will grow on me. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's not even my business. It's just something, I've watched this play out with all of you, and I'm proud of her for sticking with it and continuing to do this in real time. It blows my mind. Puka Vista, her ex targeted and groomed her. I completely believe that. Cults have a lot of things in common, and those tools that they use to control people are common denominators. And I think there definitely is, you're more susceptible to that, even if it's behavior that you don't like, right? When you're growing up or in life, you're in a situation, abusive, controlling, whatever it is, Scientology, another cult. As you go through this, your eyes open more the further you get away from it, and you can look back on it with a different set of eyes. I am constantly looking back on things in my Scientology experience and seeing it differently, because as I was moving through it, that was normal. We were used to living in a constant state of fight or flight, constantly. And when you're first coming out of that and you don't have that, that can be destabilizing as well, because that's what you're used to. You're used to the chaos. You're used to the fight or flight. You're used to all of that. So maybe you don't then see the red flags when a similar situation is there. And maybe at the same time, there's a familiarity to it. You don't even realize that you're doing that. There's just so much that's there. And to be able to have the opportunity to kind of like watch this play out and see your growth, I think is a really, really interesting thing. Leisha, thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. Love you and Reese. Can't wait for the next live with both of you. Me too. Me too. We're going to do something next on her channel. And we're also trying to figure out how to get a game night together as well and just do some fun stuff. I am all for that. Let's see. Kim is Blue says Tommy is a good guy, and I am so glad that he helped get Reese out of there. Absolutely. No, I'm glad for that too. For me, it's more about, as an outsider looking in to something that is none of my business, but I comment on it anyways. It's that, like, I personally wanted for her that time to stand there independently and know that all of these choices were solely for what was best for her and her child. Not to say that can't also happen, because she also shared that Tommy gives her that space. He cheerleads her, he encourages her. So at the end of the day, she's happy. So I support her in what her choice is, whether or not, I totally see it or it makes sense to me doesn't even matter. What matters is that she's happy and that she's continuing to share these things. I think is amazing. Phoenix on Fire 420. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Hip hip hooray and big aloha to you for doing that. Diane says Reese will flourish now. I agree with that. I think so too. Debbie says it's been interesting watching someone just out of Scientology and watching her journey of healing. Yeah, it absolutely is. Shelley says Tommy truly loves Reese and Huxley. He is the good in her life. 100%. That's fantastic. Let's see. And Mari, I see your message there. You emailed me a link to the song. Okay, great. I will check that out and we'll see if we can share that tomorrow. I appreciate that. Thank you. You sent me this really funny song and I wanted to share it, but I couldn't figure out how to download it or where to link to it. So we're going to get that sorted. V. Burke says Reese is the definition of everything happens for a reason. Very true. It's Mike Sandoval. Admitting to yourself that you were duped by a cult is difficult. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I know people still who've left Scientology and it happens sometimes. Sometimes people leave. They're like, no, it's a cult. I'm done with everything about it. For some people, it's I'm leaving Scientology because David Miscavige is a squirrel and I'm going to practice Scientology outside of there. For some, it's they do that. Then they're like, yeah, no, this is BS. I'm not doing it at all. There are so many different ways and gradient ways for people to leave Scientology, to really leave any cult or controlling relationship. Right? Sometimes it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But as long as you keep moving forward, it's never just forward, 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 forward. It doesn't work like that. It usually is in anything that you're trying to overcome, because guess what? As you get the tools to better deal with whatever your trauma or your situation is, you still have to use those tools because situations are going to come up and they're going to trigger you and you're going to be triggered. And what do? Hopefully you use those tools. But that doesn't mean it doesn't feel like sometimes even 1 step forward, 2 steps back. The point is you just keep going forward. And I think that's so much of, I know my takeaway from watching so many other creators here on YouTube who share about their Scientology experience or share about their experience leaving a different cult or high control group. I truly am fascinated by it. And I think that people just do it differently. And there's no one way to do that. Hey, Eric Rader, it's much easier to fool someone than to convince them that they have been fooled. That is very wise. And I do think you are correct there. Let's see. Did I grab these? I did. Let's see. All right. We are keeping it fairly quick here today because I got to go jump onto some stuff. Got some family here. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe and set your notification bell to all if you want to see more content like this. I'd appreciate that. Everybody, you know the drill. I hope you all get out there and have the most amazing cult-free day.